at Last Bench. Thank you so much for joining us. Matinee, for me, it's an afternoon show, so no better way to get this show started. I would like to have the curtain raiser first. This is an original that was produced by Najib, our lead animator. Fun fact, no pipeline, no structure. It was an idea that occurred to him in the shower, and he just came and just made this film. I'd like to start with Afamato.
God. Stop. I'll be giving you the pain. The God.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to Matinee 25, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Quick heads up, the first film that we played is at AGIF Animators Guild Awards. So, a few of us are very excited about the fact that it got selected for two categories, and we'll be in Bombay next week. We have a very interesting lineup of films for you today. We have a few announcements as well. Um, I would like to take this time and this opportunity to, of course, introduce our founder, Shriram, to who better yet to essentially get this session going with who are we and what we do.
Thank you. Welcome. Good evening, good afternoon. Thanks for making it on a Sunday evening. Good, you're all alert. Well done. Awesome. So this is the second and the last session of Matinee 2025. We had a first session which we opened up for public in the morning, and it was a little bit different for me because it was all new faces. Not that I had a problem with that. It was lovely to see new people and interact, but somehow I was probably a little jittery. But this is amazing. I think this has a lot of people that we work with, we collaborated with, well wishers. So feels already warm, as you can see. So yes, lovely. Thank you for being here. I will not take too much of your time, but I will have to start with the same joke I started in the morning, which is, what do I feel like now? I feel like an opening batsman in a cricket pitch. Uh, for those of you who are not familiar with cricket, I don't know what to do, but let me just keep going with it. But the pitch is fresh, the ball is new, it's swinging at all directions. Fielders are just vying for your wicket, and as a batsman, my job is only one: to not embarrassingly get out in that first over. And I hope I did not in the previous innings, I promise. But I hope I will survive this innings as well. But as that opening batsman, I think my job is also another, which is to just literally set flow so that the rest of the team, when they come and play the real game, is just smooth and easy and not in some panic situation. Hashtag India South Africa last week for those of you who follow. But on that note, my job is also to probably let you know the condition in which we're playing, if I may say so. So, in some sense, it is who we are, what do we do, how we do. And the idea of Matinee is also to unpack or demystify all of this as we go forward. But fundamentally, who are we? We are last bench. We At last bench, everything begins, and ends with people. And this is people inside the studio, the people that work behind the scenes, but also people outside the studio, which is you all, who give us an opportunity to tell your story. And at the core, at the heart of it, we are storytellers. We build stories, we unearth stories, we break complex things, decode complex things, and at times we also make simple things complex. That kind of has become an unsaid talent internally for some of us. But jokes aside, every time we have gone through this process, the outcome is something of delight almost always. And I don't say this for people inside, but I think for people outside as well. And we believe that is because when you take care of the craft takes care of you. On that note, we've been doing this for over a few years. Quietly in April 2025, we turned 5. Thank you. There was no big in LinkedIn post saying 5 things I learned in the last 5 years, but I should do that. Uh, but that happened. But there's been 5 years of curiosity, 5 years of chaos, 5 years of madness, 5 years of magic. But it's also been 5 years of people giving us synonyms and names in a good way, and that also kind of questions our identity in some sense. So we've been called many things. We've been called an agency, we've been called a production house, an animation studio, a design house, and most recently a very young person also came up and said, "You're a vibe studio, bro." So now I don't know, but since he added bro, I assume it is a compliment. So I'm still yet to unravel what this vibe studio concept is, but I'm happy with it. But yes, last there was also someone, and this is real. It's not. I'm not making this up. Someone who called and asked, saying, "Do you do passport size photographs?" So because when you Google studios near me, this shows up in this area. So many things. Most of it is right, except the last one. But I think there's a lot more than what just meets the eye. And the one thing we have also learned in these 5 years is that a studio is not just all about the work it produces, but it's also about the people that it produces with and produces for. And Matinee is our way of bringing all of this to light. And when I talk about Matinee, a question that people often ask, actually, no one asked me, but why do you do Matinee? I mean, when we think about it and we talk about it, this is not a common phenomena in the creative space. You don't see many studios say, okay, hey, you know what, let's put our work out and let's talk about it. It is maybe creative people are shy, maybe we want our work to speak for itself, or maybe we don't have the time. I don't know what the reason is, but I think the one belief that we have had is, if we don't take pride in what we do and who we do it with, I don't think we'll grow. So I think that's been the fundamental base with which we said, okay, let's do this. We did it last year in August, and we were the same shy people. Even this year, we kept postponing, saying, no, I don't think we're ready. We should do not do it. We should do not do it. Finally, thanks to Shashank and a few others pushing for it, here we are. So with Matinee, this is our attempt to show you all that we've been up to. It's a celebration of our work. It's a celebration of our people. But I think more than all of it, it's a celebration of you. It's a celebration of our clients, our collaborators, our community, and the people who just simply care for us. I see a lot of familiar faces whom we work with, but I also see a few faces where literally last week I jumped on a call to just get to know the person, and do you want to jump in? We want to be doing this, and then they're right here. So I have deep respect for everybody here. So that is Matinee, and I'm excited to welcome you all. And I won't keep talking more. And with that, I will launch the first film, Aribada.
बीस साल पहले जब हम ये बीच को आए थे ना, बहुत सारे टर्टल मर के पड़ रहे थे। ये जो विलुप्त प्राप्त जो प्राणी को हम कैसे कंजर्वेशन करेंगे, इसलिए हमारा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन तत्पर हो गया।
जेहेतु आम आगुरी डायनोसर कथा शुणुलु कि आम कहीं देखने डायनोसर केमती से ये जो कईच एमती गोटे प्राणी जो मैंने माने देखले भारी निरीह परी मन हुए।
ये जो बीच में हम काम कर रहा हूँ, पहले ये तो पूरा नॉन प्रोटेक्टेड था, कोई भी उसको ध्यान नहीं देते थे। बहुत सारे टर्टल मर के पड़ रहे थे। तो
जो कईच मैंने राति में अंडा देके गलापर से जो बिलुआ कुकुर खाई जाऊँ तार सुरक्षा आर्टिफिशियल हाथी आम शिफ्ट करूँ अंडा को।
आपुआ संस्था जो तांकर डायरेक्टर आसते जो आम मैनेजर आसते सब आसिक आम थे बुझे कहले आपन तो 7 मास बेकार बुलूँ आम आप गोटे छोट कम सहयोग करें आप किसी भी सेपटू बेनिफिट पाइपर आप वर्ष सारा आम ये गोटे ग्रुप आम जो 7-8 जन कम करें समस्ते ग्रुप रे संध्या बेले 6टा 6:30 बेले आम समस्ते आमर जो कैंप अच्छी जो आम विश्राम नौ कि जहाँ करूँ प्रथम से एकाठी हो गोटे जगह समस्ते
आने समुद्र भितर को जावा पर्यंत आम सुरक्षित देता से कहीं काउ फाउ आसिक नहीं जाए आम से था समुद्र भितर को जावा पर्यंत कर ना दे बंधु भाव विदाय करुँ पुणी कहे बंधु जाओ आमरी पाखक फेरी आसो यही समुद्र कूल को।
तो धीरे धीरे जो हैबिटेट अच्छा हो गया ना, तो टर्टल धीरे धीरे आ गई तो अंडा देने के लिए।
से कईच मैंने पाखक आसिले माछ भी बेसी होची माछ पाखक आसुचंदी फिशरमैन मैंने भी अधिक माछ धरुचंती आउ लाभ माछ धरिक उपकृत होचंदी आम अंचलवासी खुशी होती अधिक माछ पाउछ।
आम जो कम आरंभ ये करूँ मात्र 5-7 जन आरंभ करूँ किंतु एबे आम पचर बहुत सपोर्ट लगे 20-25 जन आमको पचर सपोर्ट करते कि तुम कम कर जदि कौन किसी असुविधा है आम सब तुम पचर आम सपोर्ट करुचे ठीक।
हम जो टर्टल को आज प्रोटेक्शन दे रहे वो 20 साल बाद वो पर्टिकुलर वही जगह को आएंगे। अब तक हम मिलियंस ऑफ हैचली हम रिलीज किए हैं, तो हम 20 साल हो गया हम काम कर रहे ये सेक्टर में। थोड़ा अभी हम सोच रहे हैं कि हमारा टर्टल धीरे धीरे आएंगे।
Hello, so many familiar faces here. I'm excited. Thank you so much for coming, spending our Saturday evenings with us. Uh, Quick show of hands. Heard somebody say ooh when Aribada was announced, which I'm guessing somebody knows what it means. But if for the larger audience, Aribada is a Spanish word for the arrival. And more commonly, it is used for the arrival of olive ridley turtles, which is an endangered species. And this film is very special to me because I've always wanted to work in nature documentaries, but very rarely gotten the chance to. But this was one such where, we could celebrate landscape, we could celebrate animals and conservation and the people behind it. So, when Transworld, which is the client in this case, reached out to us. Transworld works in the global shipping industry across the world and based out of Dubai. And their conservation efforts happen in this small town in Siali, which is in Odisha. And they do it with this organization called Apova, which, as you saw in the film, works in helping and preserving nesting sites for turtles and ensuring that hatchlings are safely gone into the sea in some sense. So, a little bit about how this film happened. By the way, we love naming things at Last Bench. So there's Aribada playing today. There's Minchu that played last year at Matinee, whoever attended, and there's Afamato playing today. I feel like it's nicer to call it a name than just say a total conservation film. So we love, in some sense, giving it that identity because it has a story to tell in some sense. So yeah, I will just talk a little bit about how we went about shooting it. As you can see, it happened across a beach. So pretty much we would get out of our hotel 4 days, walk to the beach, shoot the turtles wherever the hatching sites were, and come back and review the footage. And just that happened for 4 days across different times. And yeah, it's such a small town, and there are some lovely, lovely people in Siali who helped us with everything. And I think Apova also focuses a lot on community led efforts for preserving of these nesting sites, which means that since it is a beach shore, it is a shore town, they also have a lot of fishermen folk around that sort of need awareness building and help in understanding what to do when a turtle gets caught in maybe a fish net or something like that. So there are also awareness building sessions done in schools, which is what you see there on the left. And yeah, I think Varun, Anant, and I had a ball of a time shooting these beautiful, beautiful landscapes. So at night, you would have like lush dunes just spread across the beach. That's 4 a.m., that's 4 p.m., and we would just have a ball of a time shooting it. Yeah, we did see some carcasses. Yes. I think also something I would like to talk about is um, shooting in stillness, because I think something I wanted to emphasize in this film was the landscape in itself, which is why, as you would have noticed, we didn't really do a lot of movement of the cameras. We kept it in some sense where you can soak the landscape in and not be overwhelmed with what and all is happening. And I think that resulted in a very easy and still flowing film in some sense. And the impact that Apova did also, in some senses, gets highlighted. Am I missing something? Thank you. Okay, fun fact. I think when we came to the location, we had just missed the window of the turtle hatchings, which is when it happens between January to May. And when it happens, we did miss it, but we arrived at the location when we were like, okay, what do we do now? Because we can't shoot any turtles because it's gone. All the hatchling sites are also taken away. So all the shots that you see in the film which had turtle shots are actually archival footages that were shared with us by Apova and the team at Transworld. So in some sense it works, but it's as a process, it's so well documented because it happens across the world. We had footage to use in that sense. By the way, that's me lying down with a 104-degree fever because it was AC and beach all the time. Cool. So that was Aribada. I will move on to our next film, which is a very, very, how do I say this? It's a film that I hold very close to my heart. And it's a very different film than the one that was played before this because it's very high in energy and you will feel that difference. And it was a film that also challenged us in a lot of ways. I have Nitin here, who is my co director on the project. Where is Nitin? There you are. And I also have Pooja from Reap Benefit, who was so helpful in helping us. Thank you, Pooja. I will give the mic to you, Pooja, in just a minute. Oh, hi. PWOJPUJ. So yeah, I think a little bit about the film before I handed mic to Pooja is that this film took a long time for us to arrive at because of how do we make civic action look cool. Seems to be an important challenge and something that we took a long time to make it look cool and arrive at the idea, which is own your change. And I think that writing it in the next, yeah, I think the writing process had Sukanya, who is my writer on the project, and Nitin, me, just rotting away in a room, looking at the screen and just editing lines upon lines upon lines for about a week to finally arrive at that moment where we cracked it, where we were like, holy shit, we have a solid flow in place, to then going and shooting it over Punjab and Bangalore across 5 days. And that was a lot of fun, to where the magic happens, which is where I roped in Shashank, Nitin, and Paki to sort of work on how we build the film away. And I think this process, though it was interesting as a journey, it did take some time to arrive at. And I think I'm very, very proud of the final output, which you will see in a minute. But yeah, I think I'll just give the mic to Pooja to just talk a little bit about what that film has done to you.
Both, I guess. Hi everyone. Pooja here from Reap Benefit. That's so sad to hear. I mean, it's funny. Like I know it took a really long time for us for the whole thing to pan out. It took almost more than a year. Um, and the challenge was like, okay, we want to make our hope was that how do we make what he said, like doing look cool, civic action look cool. How does rather than the outcome, the process, the journey the youth goes through when they solve problems, how do we make that look cool and interesting? And the prompts were like, okay, look at the Nike ads, look at the Google ads, look at plethora of ads, and then it should align with people in Punjab, people in Karnataka, Assam, and Bombay, and what, like 10,000 languages and so many context, diversity. And I was like, every person should like feel like it's cool though at the end of it. And that was, I think, the biggest challenge. Since the time it's been launched and given to us, we've played it actually in Punjab, in Assam, in Bangalore, in Mysore, or colleges where people have, like, where youth have not even like they don't know anything about Reap Benefit or Solve Ninja. Two people who actually know about it, and everybody has just loved it. Like we've been so excited. Like we didn't know how to make this happen, and we kept thinking about it. Finally, Sriram and Kuldeep spoke, and then Nikhil, who's actually gone through the process also, being one of the Solve Ninjas. So it was like, yeah, it was cool that way. But it's been amazing. Like youth are just loving it from across the diversity and the context that we actually wanted to hope for it to come alive. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful. Like it was really exciting that to see, like, oh my god, we want to be like that, and that exactly what the feeling we wanted to incite in youth. And I think that's happening. Thanks a lot to the entire team.
And I also, sorry, one second before you play. I also wanted to talk about the who this film is for. I think that was a very interesting challenge, which I think Pooja you just brushed upon, which was it needs to be relatable for a sixth grader It needs to be relatable for somebody who is an investor or a donor, which I just find is like a lot of people to impress in that range. But yeah, I think the final product is something I'm very proud of. And I think we will open the floor to questions right after this.
I think
Change is constant. Like you can't.
stole by I had to think of something else. I mean, it's complicated.
Change doesn't always begin with a big idea. And the ones who change things, they don't always have it figured out. But the need for change, that's the voice that won't stay quiet. It's loud, persistent. It nudges you to look around, then look again.
The location we shared on the chatbot shows up here.
And again.
अगर कोई प्रॉब्लम है तो सवाल तो उठाना ही पड़ेगा, तब तक सोल्यूशन भी नहीं मिलेगा जब तक कोई सवाल ही नहीं उठेगा।
जो मैं अकेला नहीं कर सकता था वो ज़्यादा लोग कर सकते हैं। क्यों ना एक टीम बना के क्या काम करें कि क्या पता हो ही जाए।
मुझे तो सबसे ज़्यादा स्टेज पे जाके सबसे बात करने में मज़ा आता है।
अभी बहुत अच्छा लगता है कि सब लोग मुझे हॉल में जाके कर बुलाते हैं।
And before you know it, you're in the action. All in. And if you follow that voice, it'll lead you to others who sound like you.
As we try to work as Solve Ninjas at different places, we have a larger community to rely on.
ಏನಾದರೂ ಒಂದು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ನನ್ನ ಮೈಂಡ್ಸೆಟ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗ ಬಂತು.
It'll take you places you thought you'd never go.
The benefit made me feel like, oh, there is some merit to it, even if it's a small idea.
If there's an ideal world, government won't be a kind of group of people sitting at the center, but it's like every individual will be a government.
It's like change is so complicated to do, but it can also happen like
And once you get there, change, it just becomes a word.
Then the purpose shifted. From bunking classes, it shifted to why is nobody doing anything? So I should be the one who does something.
Thank you. We can have about 2 or 3 questions if anybody has any. Okay, nobody has any.
You said that you had a really long process to get to how to do it. So can you give us a gist about that?
Sure. It was a long process in terms of figuring out what that end tagline should be, because that, in some sense, defines the whole tone of the film. And I think, in some sense, to also make it relatable for a sixth grader and also convey the messaging for somebody who is like, okay, I'm excited, now what? Right? So it should leave you with a thought at the end of it. And that thought also shouldn't be preachy. So to arrive at that took a lot of time, because the challenge, I think Pooja also can jump in here, which was that, and Pooja, please, is that how do we make it cool? I think that was the toughest nut to crack here, because I think it also is played across the country, like you heard. So making sure everybody relates to it is a challenge, which is why we had to bring in Punjab, Kannada, Hindi, so that at the end of the day, when you go out and you do work around your environment, it should, in some sense, also motivate somebody else to think about it. And we all should think about how our Samaj looks around. So that was the arrival, in some sense, in terms of arriving at that idea. But shooting didn't take much time. Shooting was super quick and efficient, because PUJ helped us a lot here in terms of figuring out how to, bring everything together. And I think across Punjab and Bangalore, we had a very smooth experience in terms of going, shooting, covering, and coming back. Edit, though, however, did take some time because internally we had done a version which was, I think, way too cool, but not nobody was able to understand what was happening. And I think that is part of the process because of just how much I think we also wanted to make it cool, right? So we might have stretched the bar a little too far there. So I think when Shashank, Nitin, and I sat down, we also realized that there are bits here which we can use to bring in some more of the, and I think we broke the edit down in some sense, which is like, what do we have to work with? And that process took about a week. And it all came together in like 4 days. So it was that. Uh, Anybody else? Yeah, please.
Someone like me who actually does not know what reap benefit does, uh, is the intent of the video here to introduce the idea of collective responsibility, but not necessarily explain exactly what reap benefit does? Was that intentional, or was that like, because I'm just trying to understand. I don't know what reap benefit still does, right? But it appears like the video was to encourage the idea of collective social responsibility. So was that the purpose?
Yes and no. I think both. In some sense, you answered the question, which is that we did go with the intention of, yes, somebody should understand at a base level what Reap Benefit does. But for example, I think when Reap Benefit also came to us, it was the Apple Super Bowl commercial, which is somebody running and throwing the spear at the screen, and you have that monologue in the end. And I love that because it tells you everything about the attitude of Apple. It doesn't tell you anything about what Apple does. And I think that was a great, how do you say, anchor in some sense, because it allowed us to understand that you don't want me to tell you the whole story of what Rebenefit does. You don't want me to tell you that we work with children across so and so ages. Perfect. Yes. And I think where it's also used is in workshops and meetings where they play it before, and then Kuldeep or Pooja would go up and talk a lot about free benefits. So the context is there.
All right. Thank you. No. Nikhil Suresh, everybody. I said this joke in the morning, so I'll repeat it again. He is our first Avenger, the first person to step into last bench, and has been here 5 years. Thank you, Nikhil, for everything you do. Thank you. I am in the midst of a very interesting mix in this audience. Some of you know us because you work with us. Some of you know us because you work with us to do that work. So, a segue to the next segment, which is how do we do what we do? Now, the whole point of Matinee 25 this year for us was to, Shriram and I were talking about it, and a little more closer, I guess. Yeah, this is better. Um, in 5 years, we've done a lot of things, and like Shriram was saying, we have come to know about being an animation studio, being a production house. So the idea for Matinee this year was to kind of demystify that, and for me, it was also important to also explain a little bit about how we do what we do. If I have to think of a common factor, it is tenacity. I think towards the end of any project, if I have to really evaluate what makes us really apply ourselves, it is essentially attention to detail. I know it's quite cliched, but from the start to finish, when anybody writes to us to when we're done with the film, it's just the sheer amount of detail that we spend in terms of paying attention to what we're trying to do with the film, whether that's animation, whether that's live action, whether that's a design project. I think why we do what we do essentially comes from there. What I was essentially referring to in the morning, and I'm so sorry we keep saying morning because this is the first time we're doing a two slot for Matinee. I was born on the internet and I've consumed so much content on YouTube before the algorithm took over, where content creation was purely for the passion of creating content. It is essentially people who are just wanting to tell stories, and the medium doesn't matter. It's essentially whether you're a painter, whether you're a songwriter, whether you're an animator, whether it's stop motion. It's just the joy of creation that I grew up on. And for me, Last Bench has been my safe space for the last 5 years to be able to create something like that. And that is, I think, the attitude that we've always tried to bring to any project. It's quite interesting because there are a few cinematographers here who've joined me on my travels on some of the client work who are here with us. We've been in the trenches, we know the reality, but usually the magic is always in the edit. I know it's a hack, but it's exactly what it is. I think for us to be able to basically say that we have a team that we can look back and say, can we do this? Can we try this? Or come to us and say, I have this idea and I really want to push through. And I hope the 6 films that we put together today is an example of that. Moving on, I think the one thing that I think we have been able to also try to do a lot more is simplifying complex content. And this film that we're going to play next is no better example. I present Beyond the Quotes Justice in Action. Thank you, Gautam. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Shruti, for being in the audience today. Thank you so much. It means a lot that I get to play this film to you after we had so much chat on Slack. But if I can take a moment to one acknowledge that this was one of the most challenging films for me this year, from just the point of how much attention can I pay to all the detail that is there. Because this film, the objective was to demystify the justice space. Now, when I say the Indian justice system, a lot of you will be sitting with opinions right away. The point of the film for us was to be able to say, can we create a ready reckoner, a primer of sorts to be able to celebrate the work that goes in this space that often is a little silent. There are some brilliant work, there's some brilliant civil society organizations that are working in the space that could use the amplification. They might be vying for the same funds. The whole point for us was to say, can this film become a rally cry to the philanthropy space, to folks who can fund programs, projects, to be able to say, I think there is merit here, I think there's potential here, and we should do more in this space. I'll not talk too much, but this is Beyond the Quotes, Justice in Action.
At a tribal wedding in a small village in Gwalior, Ram Ratan of the Sehariya tribe was shot by 2 upper caste men. For a year, a civil society organization fought on his behalf, holding the perpetrators accountable. As Ram Ratan recovered, he chose not to press charges. For him, justice wasn't punishment, it was providing for his family, drowning in medical debt. With the CSO support, he secured compensation, cleared his debts, and bought an e-rickshaw to rebuild his livelihood.
हमारे लिए तो क्रिमिनल इनजस्टिस का मतलब है सज़ा, पर हमें उस केस के थ्रू पता लगा कि लोग क्या चाहते हैं, राम रतन क्या चाहता था. And then we actually had to think about it and we said कि जो लोग चाहते हैं, I think हमारा काम वही है.
But Ram Ratan's journey didn't end there. Seeing some Sehariya children struggle to reach school, he put his e-rickshaw to use, ferrying them for a modest fee. His fight for justice had set change in motion.
And the truth is, when systems of law and justice fail and enforcement doesn't work, so fundamentally our faith in law and order starts failing. And when that happens, it affects us as a society as a whole. It may not be you today, but it could definitely be you tomorrow.
The justice system must not be this ivory tower that people are afraid to navigate.
We as a society don't even know what laws govern us. And if we don't know the laws that govern us, how do we access justice?
Justice is often spoken of as an ideal, but for many, it remains out of reach, delayed, denied, or inaccessible altogether. But what if justice could be simpler, faster, and more inclusive? Justice isn't just about courtroom and legal battles. It's also about the right to live with dignity. While the promise of justice is constitutional, the path to it often remains unclear.
So if our goals are different of what justice is and who we are fundamentally different, it goes without saying you're going to need like 100 different pathways of what justice is going to look like.
Everybody has a role to play in upholding the rule of law. Because whom is the law made for? It's made for society. And what kind of society do we all want to live in? Where everybody, just like what we want, access to fairness, access to our rights, understanding what is our due, also our responsibilities. It's a Samaj question, a Samaj problem.
The road to justice is filled with obstacles. Complicated language, a lack of awareness of one's rights, inaccessible legal support, and a stigma that can often be isolating. When the system fails to meet people where they are, civil society organizations step in, not to replace the system, but to ensure justice reaches those who need it the most.
हैंडपम्प नहीं चल रहा, राशन नहीं है, राशन की जो दुकान है वो करप्शन होता है वहाँ पे, तो we call these the entry level problems. And the approach is not that हम कर देंगे आपके साथ. अगर PHE डिपार्टमेंट में हैंडपम्प के लिए जाना है तो हम नहीं जाएंगे, आप जाएंगे, हम पीछे खड़े रहेंगे, क्योंकि एट द एंड ऑफ द डे अगर उनके हाथों में कलम होगी, उनके हाथों में टूल्स होगा, तो वो अपनी लड़ाई आराम से कर लेंगे.
Across India, small but deliberate interventions are proving that access to justice can be more than an idea. It can be a lived reality. From legal aid to need-based mediations, CSOs are shifting how justice is accessed, understood, and delivered. When marginalized people don't get the support they need, survival can sometimes push them into crime. And once inside the system, they're quickly labeled.
I think one big myth is that they're all criminals and they're all dying for your blood. There's a lot of fear attached to that space.
The stigma surrounding prisons further isolates people in these systems, rendering them unseen, unheard, and distant.
Something that we chanced upon actually in one of our prison visits is some poems that the residents had written, and the superintendent was saying that, hey, can we do something about these poems?
These poems soon transformed into a music album, Project Aha, meaning hope in Assamese. The album challenged stigma, revealing the human side of those behind bars.
The poems were an incredible insight into their lives, their journeys, their emotions, their struggles, their triumphs. So that was an unveiling of a different facet to their identity.
Each of them is not a number. There's an individual behind it, right? So if you're able to provide some relief or justice or long-term support to that one person, it's making a difference to that one person's life. And that one person is not one person alone, that one person has a family, and that family lives in a community. So it is making a longer term impact in terms of that one person that we are talking about.
Beyond stigma, India's prisons grapple with overcrowding and delayed trials. Over 60% of the prison population consists of under trials. That is, people not yet convicted but trapped in a system that moves too slowly to set them free.
There are 7,200 ways in which a citizen can get arrested in this country. 76 point something percentage of these laws are activities which is debatable as to whether this is a crime or not. So what we are trying to do with this Crime and Punishment Collective is collectively try and see as to whether there can be principled based sentencing. That can we come together to say that this is what seems right for this kind of wrong.
The IJR, the India Justice Report, we rely completely on data which is valid in the eyes of the government. Because this is official data. It is data that the courts will accept. It is data that the public must accept.
Justice is rarely a linear path. It's a path that must meet people where they are, have fair laws, and ultimately lead to their dignified return to society. The system has its flaws, but it is not beyond repair. Across courts, prisons, and communities, change is steadily taking shape. Initiatives around policy reform, improved legal aid, and data transparency are building a system responsive to the needs of justice.
We often talk about the system being responsive to the last mile, to the vulnerable. But equally, justice must be available for all.
There is so much common ground to be made on these matters because we are all looking at the same problem. We are looking at it from different lenses and different directions. So why don't we come together and do it?
Justice is not a fixed destination. It's an evolving system. that must be adaptable, responsive, and future ready. And who shapes this future? Those willing to act. From legal aid to reintegration, from policy to participation, this ecosystem needs more than ideas. It needs those willing to back a diversity of efforts that reimagine justice at every level, individual, collective, and national.
I wish I could say that I had gone to the defense of everybody who needed me. I do not have that capacity. But I do have some capacity, and to that extent, I want to use it.
Can we seize the moment to increase the speed of the delivery of justice, whether it's the prison system, whether it's the police system, whether it is the courts? I think these are all very clearly simple, humane issues, and it would be great if Indian philanthropy would get excited with some of these opportunities here in India.
There's always a sigh when I start talking about this film. When I say it was one of the most challenging films, what I meant to say it left me a lot to sit with. I mean, when we were researching for this film, we spoke to a lot of the folks who were working in this space. These were 1 hour, 2 hour interviews on Zoom, and it was just them passionately talking about the people that they're working for, the decades that they've put in this space. And for me to be able to say, how do I take that into this? I'll be damned, but I wish I could make a 25-minute film out of this. We had so many beautiful stories come out of it. But thank you, Gotham. Thank you so much for giving us the voice. Gotham's voice, of course, is the narrator here. And appreciate how sometimes the part of the journey of storytelling is to have fun with it. And thank you for being folks who always encourage us with our wild ideas. And a huge shout out to my animation team, Arundhati, Prashant, Najib, for understanding sensitivity, because we were all worried about if it was going to go the usual route. And Shruti, of course, for pointing out that the sari design was a little close to the Asha worker, so we should probably switch the color swatch, which absolutely made sense. No, but I remember I was like gawked. I was like, what? It does make sense. And then we quickly checked Google and it was actually right. So, I mean, that's what I meant with attention to detail. I think for us, we love when it's such a collaborative effort on all sides, right? And I think this film for me will stand out. And fun fact again, this will be at the Animators Guild as well. So we are also excited for that. Yes. How we do what we do, when I say simplifying complex content, I think this is a good segue for me to go into if I talk about justice as a space and talking to these folks. We also had another project that came to us where we had to essentially simplify or understand the thought leadership in the imaginative space. And who better to talk about imagination than kids? The next film is for AKR schools. This is a glimpse into the future. And believe me, when I say sometimes I feel like the mirror of having spoken to folks who worked for decades and folks who will be working in decades. Sometimes the line is very fine, but I invite you to enjoy one of the most playful films that we've made at Last Bench in the last 5 years.
Wait, who's my group again? What's your favorite product? I live in Bangalore.
Time up. Okay. Okay. So now imagine all of you are superheroes. Okay. All of you will create a future, and we have to sketch them.
Oh, look, I found the pencil.
If the whole world is going to develop technologically, of course they need more people doing like different works, right? There'll be way too many humans in this world.
I would want to find out if some things we use in our everyday life still exist in the future. This year is 3095. So like everyone loved drawing the future, so they became the drawing. So like now they have birthmarks which like show their which feeling, purple like bowl like that.
People are of course going to invent new flavors, new food items, and people can just like start creating their own food recipes, just like weird combinations maybe.
I like made that there'll be a room and there you can fly and you can dance, and this is a disco light and she's having a lot of fun. So maybe I feel the future will be quite polluted because nobody's having pool cars or buses. Everybody's having own transports. So now I feel that the future might be very polluted. And monkeys will become exist because we're harming the environment so much. So you can see them in museums and like photos now only.
People will invent CO2 purifiers, so it will take carbon dioxide from the air and turn it into fertilizer for plants, so that you get free plant food and clean the atmosphere. Transportation, people will use hover cars, most people use teleportation.
Basically, there will be no central/union government, local government and state government. Since they went missing, now the government job is now AI job.
What is something you would like to find out about the future?
The future is kind of scary. There are all sorts of different changes always going on. I think I'm heading into the future kicking and screaming.
You're in a race and you fell down because of an obstacle. You're here, people just see you fall and just run away, like run. Instead of doing that, you should like help them get up and then you can start moving. Humans realize that they're destroying the environment and they finally try to turn things back in time to like when the earth is green. If I could find out something, I wanted to see that how the people would be, if they would be kind to me or they would be rude to me.
Thank you. That was Akia. Just a quick note, I think in the last 5 years that I've been here at Last Bench, there have been so many asks from different varieties of, it could be a founder who's trying to explain their elevator pitch but would rather have something animated so folks may not nod off. It could be a program that has spent probably decades putting in the numbers, very evidently seen the impact, but may necessarily need that story to essentially deliver what it is doing. I think when I say how we do what we do, there is actually no answer because, as you can see, the video that you just seen is for a creativity fest, which AK is putting together, and to be able to then dial in into the imagination of kids and then look at what they've said from an interview point of view to then bring it to the studio where a bunch of 20 somethings reconnect back into their inner child to say, how would I think of something like this? So a lot of the process that went in there was us, I think, connecting back to our inner child, and the expression is very evident. And this, I think, will always hands down be my favorite playful video of Last Bench. To that merit, of course, we have a very fun announcement. Like I said, we have a couple of films and we have a couple of announcements. Uh, I would want to take just quick minute before we play the video. Um, in the last 5 years, I think we have had a bunch of ideas. I think we're an opinionated bunch. Um, and we have a lot of ideas. And every now and then there comes an idea that we want to be able to say, you know what, let's just put all our effort into it. And before I play the video, I just want to quickly take this opportunity to thank my team for what you have done. I'm very excited to share it with the audience. I know I'm creating hype, sorry. But once the video is out, I would like to invite Nikhil back on stage to take you through what we have for you today.
It was more about us being done and dusted with the ideological representation of an idea through a path.
What would someone feel if they saw somebody wearing this? Would I think about it as an answer? What would I think about it? I think to me it's a rhetorical question also, right?
It's letting you sit with that thought.
You're not necessarily looking for an answer, you're just suggesting that ideas sit somewhere.
Thank you, Shashank, for the hype train. Um, and thank you, Varun, for that banger of an AV that we just had. So, yeah, we have merch again. I've suddenly got energy back. Sorry. I need a breather. Uh, yeah, so I think last year, same during Matinee is when we decided to try our hand at what merch can look like. And for those who visited last Matinee, walked away with a tote bag, which was very nicely designed by Paki and Prashant. So big round of applause for them, please. So when we did merch, we were like, before I explain what Where Do Ideas it is, where and why and what does it mean for Last Bench to do merch was the question that I think internally also we were dealing with. And for me personally, it was just like, what is the worst that could happen? Like, if we could put a few of our personalities on a t-shirt or on a tote bag, and especially for something like Last Bench, because a lot of us here have come to the studio and have felt that what is this place, because it's too much sometimes for a lot of people, because it's too colorful. It's got so many different kinds of trinkets all around, especially at the desks or at our lunch table, which has a beautiful corner. So what we wanted to do with merch was to put all of that on a physical or tangible product in some sense, which is in some capacity also what merch needs to look like for Last Bench. And when we were thinking of what we could do for Matinee this year, since Matinee is in some sense a celebration of all our ideas, we wanted to explore where do all of our ideas sit. And like Shashank has just briefed in the beginning, for some of us, it could be at the shower. For some of us, it could be while having a conversation with somebody. For some of us, it could be, especially for me, because I make a long commute from Whitefield to Indiranagar, at the traffic signal sometimes. It could be anywhere, right? And I think they hold a special place in time because those ideas are there in that moment. And then what we choose to do with them is upon us. And I think that's what we wanted to celebrate this time. And like Sukanya also asked in the voiceover, is it denoting a place, or is it denoting a time, or is it both? And I think that's what I wanted to leave everybody with. So following up on that, we have a wonderful looking t-shirt and a wonderful looking tote bag and a small surprise, which is we're announcing something a little special called Collectibles by Last Bench. And also all of this will sit in the merch store, which is merch.lastbench.studio. The idea is that we do more fun experiments, more fun things that are a little wider in the spectrum, and hopefully it sits in the studio perpetually. And Collectibles by Last Bench, before I call Shashank on stage, is a way for us to also give something back or for us to look forward to at the end of the year. This year it happens to be a very cutely designed coaster slash calendar. So, should I have you?
I mean, it's a coaster that's a calendar. It's a calendar, but it's a coaster. Ha, got you there, right? Um, I think one of the biggest joys for me anytime somebody comes to the studio, be it that we'd probably be in working capacity or the fact that you are very interested in our work, I would like to leave you something. And I think for us, merch store has just been something that we've been talking out for a long time, led by this man, of course. But the way we want to say it is it's a subculture that we're trying to build up. And let me be honest, I think we are sitting on a lot of ideas. And the 5 years that have gone by, there are a lot of ideas that sometimes in my old diaries, I realize, wow, we could have done something. But I think we're also blessed with an incredibly talented team. Yes, you're opinionated, I know, but let me take this opportunity to also say that you guys are very talented, and we are very excited to see what we can do in this space. And I think collectibles for us becomes our way of manifesting that we do this every year, and if we could do it in a timeline that is viable for us. Also, we have a cute cat. Oh my god! Like this is also my time to also announce that we have Suta, who is also at the studio. Yes, more clap for the cat. And this was a expect a lot of announcements coming down on our socials. We had a very fun photo shoot, and we're very excited to share that with you. The merch store will also go live, and it's on the website as well. And again, big congratulations to the team for putting this up. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, yes, of course. Have to plug it. You'll be able to access it right at the back. There's also a merch store upstairs, so feel free to check it out. Tees, totes, and coasters. If any of you are playing Secret Santa this year, may I suggest that you could get a coaster calendar and maybe wow somebody. But let us know what you think. Take a look, and we'll be very, very interested to know your feedback on our merch. Uh,
Also, you all have the tote already. I just realized. So, yeah, I think please interact with the merch store upstairs and have any questions if you may. Thank you, Shashank.
Thank you. Okay. So far so good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Also, quick note: we are last benchers. We will be a little awkward every now and then, so kindly just let us be. I have one thing that I do want to cover, which the team has been annoying me about in terms of the title. It is titled "Who Do We Do It With?" Uh, Yes. So, in the process of demystifying what Last Bench is in the 5 years, the foundational questions were: who are we? What we do? How do we do it? And who do you do it with? Sharam thoda hai mera, but I would like to take this opportunity to quickly show you a showreel of the different brands that we worked with in the 5 year space. I'm going to riff on this, but if I had to quickly say my story is different for different people. If I'm meeting a friend of 20 years, I think there are certain brands that I'll handpick. If I'm meeting somebody for the first time to leave an impression, depending on their industry, I'd probably pick a few brands. But it is very interesting that in the last 5 years, our scope of work ranges from social impact, foundations, philanthropies. You can look at it from a point of sector. You can look at a point of work. You can look at visual mediums. You can look at it if that was live action, animation, design. But the truth is, we still bring the same last bench tenacity that I was talking about to each one of these. A few of you are here in the audience, so thank you for coming. And if you see yourself, please give yourselves like a loud cheer. Have you seen yourself so far? I saw an LLF there, Sufia. Yay! Yes. But of course, if you think about it, there are stories of products, there are stories of programs, there are stories of essentially brands. We've done corporate films, we've done explainers, the whole charade. And this goes back to what I was talking about. For me personally, I think as a boy growing up on the internet, I think the medium has never been important for me. Just to be able to say, if the story needs a medium, who do I go to? And I think in the last 5 years, I've had the pleasure of working with clients who have had that explorative kind of flair, and folks at Last Bench, and of course, our additional collaborators who want to go the distance of doing some beautiful filmmaking. And in front of you, of course, will be a few brands that you might recognize, brands that you may not have known that we work with. But this is 5 years of Last Bench in a quick 5 minute reel. Which I think will be my segue to the next film. Uh, Neha, if I may bear it all. Anyway, so this is not studio gossip, I promise. Just quick trivia for the next film that we have. I think Wobble had reached out to us because they wanted to make a video for their Kickstarter campaign. Now, we were quite excited and we put a concept together. But as founders, we also empathize with other founders when there is logistic issue. Just a quick trivia: the product was not ready because of the lunar Chinese calendars, lunar Chinese lunar New Year, if I may. And so for us, it was, how do we make a film for an American audience in Bangalore with a product that we believe we can make it work? I invite you to enjoy Wobble.
Meet the all-new Vobble, your kid's pocket audio buddy. It's sleek, it's nifty. Listening just got awesome. With stories, podcasts, and music all on the go, we've got an exclusive library just for you.
Sherlock, I cracked it! I cracked it!
I told you, Miss Watson. It's all elementary.
Cause imagination never stays still. Anyone gets it. You can even create cool new stories yourself. Take some pictures. Now tell us your vision, Michael.
Rufus playing the guitar.
On a skateboard.
Alrighty then, let's make the magic happen.
Rufus zoomed on his skateboard, shredding his guitar.
That's 5 episodes of Rufus and the Ruffians. Heard Finney is joining the band too. Play is built right into Vobble. No Wi-Fi, no problem.
For the final question, who flew a kite in a storm and became the electricity guy?
Benjamin Franklin!
It's got trivia, audio games, escape rooms too. And if you've got burning questions, ask away.
Why isn't the moon a planet?
The moon isn't a planet because it orbits the Earth, not the sun. What do you think?
How do stars explode in the universe? How do we know the universe is expanding? Would the universe allow time travel?
This kid's going places.
With Vobble, you step in the curated mini-worlds to spark curiosity. It's safe, kid-friendly, and totally parent-approved. Follow along on your kids' journey as they learn, create, and add sound to their day. The all-new Vobble. Listening just got awesome. Sick moves, John.
Yes. And I think I've also had this question come through. Sometimes we get mistaken to doing only interview-based films. So for me to be able to say, "Wow, we were able to do that," quick shout out again to Neha, Soumya, and everybody at Wobble to be able to help us do this. I also want to thank our collaborators, a network of cinematographers, producers who make this happen, because a lot of times these twists in the tails happen a lot, as often in our line of work, and to be able to have rock steady support. Anand, you're here, you've been in a lot of these shoots with us. It's essentially the fact that we in 5 years have been able to build out these networks of trust. Again, once again, thanks to everybody. Thank you. Quick question so far on any of the films that you've seen, that's Access to Justice or Wobble or any other films here? Yeah.
I have question regarding the music. Do you also get it produced? Because that's partly like the animation is very well synced with the music. So yeah.
Quick shout out to Ritvik, who's also here. If he's here, he's upstairs. But yeah, we do work with collaborators who essentially come into projects for very specific asks, and I think Ritvik has been someone we've been steadily collaborating with. But a lot of times, sometimes the music also is in house. Essentially, a lot of what you see is towards the final end of a production, but I think some of us in the studio prefer having the track. It's a very on principle question also. Varun will say, no, I want the music first. Saurav will probably say, I can make a music work. So it's essentially that. But it is as, oh, my watch is sending a message to Ritvik, by the way. But I think it's in a place where I feel like it's really bases on the project. If we want to compose something original, or if we have an inspiration from an ad or an existing piece that we want to bring into the film, and basis on that, we take a call of whether we are we have folks who can do it internally, or if we have someone who's specialized to come in and help us in the process.
I have one more question. So, yeah. So for the last film, you got the talent flown to India, or how do you manage that? Very important question. Because, and secondly, even the house, like it seemed very American, because I have been in a situation we wanted to do that, but we had to fly to US to get that done. So yeah.
Can I just bring Anna on stage, please? Because this girl has sifted through so many photos on her WhatsApp after the casting call went, where casting directors would send like a bajillion photos. Yes, it is possible to shoot an international ad in Bangalore, in Hyderabad, in Mumbai. I think for us it was about essentially getting the age right, and of course we needed a boy, we needed a girl. But I think the dad also became a very interesting conversation. But you want to quickly add that?
Fun fact, the girl is Indian. So the ask was a little complicated in that sense because they had to look related one and the dad had to look related. So these are three different casting things. So it was a mix and match. So Suraj and I went through like a bunch of, their kids are great actors. There are kids who are bad actors but look the part, but then they didn't look related. It was a whole thing. But they were from Bangalore. Brilliant, very professional, actors. This space, luckily, it's right outside. It's towards the airport area. So somebody had stayed there from the team, and they were like, "Check this place out," and it just perfectly worked. So that's how we did the casting for this.
It's also about, if you watch it later on, how it's been shot. So Suraj directed this. I'm just snatching the mic and talking on his behalf here. It's also how it's been shot. So intentionally very close shots, and you're not showing too much of the space or even the how the bedroom is set up in the way that you're just showing the bed and the light and stuff. All of it was shot in a day from morning 6 to evening 10. So the entire thing was done in one day. Fun fact, since you asked music, the music for the Wobble film was done by the Wobble team, if I'm not wrong. So Soumya Neha, thank you. Because it is an audio tool at the end of the day. And I think the team was very particular, saying, hey, our team would like to do the music for this when we have some ideas that we worked on. So I think it was also very interesting for us to see how that works out. And I think it was fun. So.
Any more questions or? Okay.
Where do you think you're going? Sorry. Because the segue, of course, is we spoke about the brands that we work with, and we want to really bring through, I think, one of the most playful, I keep saying playful, but this brand film for me, I think, keeps me, gives me good sleep, I guess, in that sense, because this is Zoho, the state of contract management, that we'd like to quickly introduce, give you a little context, and of course, produced it. Over to you, sorry.
So Zoho Teams has a contract, Zoho Contracts team, and they were releasing a report about the state of contract management. International study done across countries, bunch of respondents, and they wanted to launch the report. Now, as you can imagine, it's a data heavy report. So the ask was, hey, can you do a motion graphics film? Zoho, if you've seen, they do a lot of that work already. They came to us. They wanted to launch by Diwali. Do we have? Okay. So we'll play the film and then I'll give you a little bit of BTS. But that was the context and that is not what you're going to see. I'll tell you why. But enjoy the film.
Contracts are at the very heart of business. And yet managing them has somehow always taken a backseat. Welcome! Today we'll take a quick tour through the world of contracting. Over time, computers and digital contracts arrived to help us out. But those contracting headaches, they never really left, did they? So we decided to zoom in and look at the actual picture. We got the real story from over 1,000 legal professionals from 10 countries and multiple industries. Here's what we found. Half of the respondents still rely on manual processes. They face delays, bottlenecks, and even compliance issues. But the ones using modern CLM tools, they are starting to save hours. Their contracts are connected with their business systems, And they are super excited about what AI can do next. Now, these are not just stats. These are real stories, real setbacks, and valuable lessons from teams just like yours. Are you curious about where your team stands? Are you wondering what's coming next in contract management? Dive into the State of CLM report. It's packed with insights to answer your questions and guide your journey forward.
So I did the math yesterday. We had a week and a half, around week and a half, 2 weeks to execute this film because they were looking for a Diwali release. So when they came to us, like I said, they were asking for a motion graphics, which is just data. And I'll show you what that looked like. So this was a direction. It was inspired by what the report looked like and their references. They okayed this. They said this was good to go. I was like, great, everything's perfect. You've approved a script, and the script was a little bit more conversational, but everything seemed on track. Najib, who is the lead animator who came up with this style, comes up to me and he's like, hey, so how about we don't do this? And I was like, what? And he's like, so have you watched the Flintstones? And that question got us excited. Najib took it a completely different direction from that to this to convince us. Internally, we were convinced. We were like, oh my God, this seems great. Until Sriram put some cold water on us saying, they already have a marketing plan. What are you doing? Like, I mean, he wasn't that harsh. But he did have a fair point. He was like, everything is, the report has a look, they have a plan ready. It's a very clear ask. How will we convince them? But before I get to that story, let me call Najib to the stage to explain why this style and what is the inspiration.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Najib Totungar. I'm here lead animator in Last Bench. Okay, so I'll tell you actually exactly what happened. We had two script. I read the first script, first paragraph. I made that sample, which is completely on motion graphics. They approved the second script, and I haven't read the second script. Then after they said they approved the second script, I read the script. It had characters and it had scenarios where what I was thinking just only with the shapes and just this very motion graphic stuff. So luckily, I remembered my childhood. Can you go to the childhood? Yeah. Again, our childhood. Basically, I grew up, watching all these Flintstone, Dexters, and everything. And that time, I didn't want to become an animator, honestly. After the point when I became an animator, I genuinely wanted to have these kind of works in my portfolio. I mean, yeah, these are like OG cartoons. But I mean, if you're working in a profession, it's very hard to get this kind of a ask from a client, right? So when I told Anna, like, okay, we have this kind of an idea that I don't know how to convey to a client and everything. The main challenge for me as a execution person, because I don't talk to a client much, and for me, the biggest challenge is convincing a team. And she was more convinced than me. Seriously, the moment I told her, like, yeah, let's do it. I like, but we haven't done anything like it. Still, yeah, let's do it. Then after that, Sriram, like, but we need to convince the client. And she's like, yeah, let's do that first. So yeah, within that, I had to actually dig deep a little bit because I know tried this, but when I look at it, is again like pipeline was like very straightforward. You basically draw, it'll work. There is not much complicated softwares or anything involved. Then I tried to understand what makes cartoon cartoon. Then I realized the Soho script, what you see here, is actually a visual comedy category. And for the visual comedy, it is a hell lot of task because again, making laugh is very hard. Like I'm trying, but still not working. Yeah. So there are so many aspects of it. The more you go down deeper, you see, especially it depends on the character, the storytelling, the timing, and especially when it comes to the character. Because here in Zoho, the character is not speaking to you much. They have like very little screen time. So the moment you see them, you should know, you should understand what are those characters? So for that, we need to use a very weird shape. For that, I had to like literally unlearn all the anatomy I've been trying to doing for the last 7 8 years. And so this is like for an example, I had to show a guy who's actually using the old scheme, old system. There's a guy who's using a new system, like very basic shapes. But overall, when you look at it, it's maybe like 2 3 seconds. People should see, okay, that is happening. To reach here, there is a lot of um, scratch sketches, which apparently I didn't save it anywhere, kind of deleted it, and I'm still mad about me. Then after that, once you get the character, okay, cool. Now the problem is getting to the action. Because again, visual comedy, it's based on action. That action has to be, that comical element has to be there. That's the cat also. And once okay, the action is coming, but then the biggest hurdle was for me was that exact, that timing. Because every visual comedy works on actual get timing. The timing is a little off. The timing includes even after he's falling down, then there are like literally 2 beat going extra over there. Or even the cat closes the eyes. There's a blink. So this kind of timing also, there's a lot of back and forth was happening over there. And yeah, I mean, every animation has these kind of an issues and everything, but I genuinely didn't know this was this much hard. So ultimately, what happened is whenever in my entire career, when I talk to someone in outside the animation, sorry, okay, I think I went too fast. So when I tell them like I'm an animator, people immediately like tell me like, oh, okay, cartoon. I used to take it as kind of an offensive way, but honestly, after this project, trust me, it's right now. If somebody says like, okay, it's cartoon, I'd be like, not that level, but somewhat. But I kind of changed my entire perspective about it. So that is about the process. Now, and I will continue the story about how we convince the client. Thank you so much, sir.
Next slide. So the funny thing about convincing the client was we had a meeting. So Najib, me, and Sriram. So Sriram was still, playing devil's advocate, saying, "First, I will work." I mean, that is what they asked for. He was like, "Yes, this will work." Najib and I were like, "But second style." And honestly, they saw it. They got super excited to the level that they took it to their superiors, the folks who were working with us. They made a case for us. Superiors loved it, got approved just the weekend before Diwali. On the weekend, the marketing team reaches out saying, "Hey, we had a plan ready, but can we have assets from this film? Because we're ready to incorporate that into their plan." So they changed their marketing look. And, Zoho has his own, the Zoho contracts team was very ecstatic about how it turned out. And I think that was our biggest win. And it's all thanks to Najib asking, the questions, "Have you seen Flintstones?" I feel like I painted Sriram a little too harshly during Zoho. He was genuinely just, he was pushing us. Thanks, Avidita. So any questions regarding this? Yes. So,
So, okay, I think I haven't openly talked about the cat story to anyone in the team also. So, what happened is, you figure the first on the video, the first panning down, right? So, the behind that camera scene, the major concept was, this old lift where you get in and pull the lever and you slowly go like. Tuk, 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 tuk. So, that was the concept behind that camera motion. But the problem when I was visualizing it, from the first scene, you literally need to wait around 5 to 2 seconds to get into the second scene. Then I made some extra action where this people are like shaking hands and everything, but again, it was still not much. I just put a cat. Honestly, the starting was it's just for a filler. It's basically a filler action because the cat is there. Obviously, you want to look at the cat, and the cat is actually looking at you. So then, after that, on the client meeting, also they actually asked what is the concept behind the cat. Uh, for me, it was very weird how to answer in a very sophisticated way, but yeah, cat is more like a bridge for each scene. And Like you notice the cat, you remember the cat still. So yeah, that's it.
I think Najib is underselling the cat. I think it adds a lot of charm, and they also really liked it to the point where that cat is in the detective hat. That was actually a person, but they were like, "Can we bring the cat more?" So we added more of the cat after that.
I think that really brought out the whole, more than the whole ad or whatever, but the cat was the.
Agreed. And we were also having our studio cat by then, so it all worked. Anybody else? Awesome. So
Fun fact, that is not Najib's first cat. There are 3 cats that he's drawn and animated across 3 films, and I think it's a tradition we should keep going. Um, I think we've come to one segment of Matinee that we are very invested in, and I'm very excited to share with you. Um, I know I'm talking like this, but it is understated how important this announcement is to me and how important it is to the team that they spent the week putting together. A big shout out to Paki, Saurav, and Manvi for being to do this that you're about to see. As you can see, I'm the hype man at Last Bench, but I will play the video and we'll talk a little after. Good design is always in plain sight. You just have to know where to look. And at Last Bench, it's always been right there. In the stories we tell, in the choices we make, in the way an idea takes shape, long before it becomes a frame. You can see it first in our space, the walls, the objects, the scraps of work in progress, a place where design guides how thinking happens. From there, it's always flowed into our work. From the raw joy of folk cricket, our first original, to the clarity and intent of the website we just shipped. Work that doesn't just stand out because it looks good, but because there is design beneath it doing the work. It has shaped our publications with structure. It has shaped our animations with detail. It has shaped our storytelling with decision. You may never notice it, but instantly would miss it if it wasn't there. Now, we want to build on that instinct, introducing a dedicated design vertical for brand strategy, campaigns and communication, editorial and packaging, web and digital experiences, made for people, by people, and shaped by every conversation we've ever had. This is Design at Last Bench in plain sight. Thank you. Thank you. For everyone here who knows us in our own capacity, whether that's personal, whether the fact that we've worked together, I think this cannot get bigger for us. And I want to also quickly, before Sriram comes and talks about the design philosophy, thank every one of you for being part of that journey for us to be able to share this with you. That again is a quick acknowledgement for everybody in the room. I invite Sriram to essentially take us through why we're doing design at Last Bench.
Thanks, Shashank. Thank you, everyone. This isn't something I thought I would ever do, which is announce the launch of something. But as I do it, I'm very excited. Uh, fact, I had not, I think we're dropping a lot of facts. But anyway, either we were lazy or whatever. Uh, I hadn't seen this AV until this morning when it played before I just came into talk. And I think at some part I'd also deliberately left it that like that. Uh, innate confidence that it will be way better than any deck that I can do. So now that we formally are saying we have design at Last Bench, but truth be said, the video covers most of what I should be speaking. Design is something that's always been there. So you saw something called folk cricket that crossed your view some time back, and a lot of you have also seen it even otherwise. Folk cricket was something we did in 2020, 3-4 months after we just started the studio. It wasn't any big term design or anything. We just did it because we felt like doing something. It was 4 of us back then, and it just was fun. I think we fused cricket with folk art, and folk cricket came out of it, and it became viral in its own way. What we didn't realize was that wasn't that was a different media. it was in motion media, it was static in some sense, and it had design at its core. And along the way, we kept doing stuff in similar style and similar fashion. And at some point, we had a very dear client. They're also here. So Ambika is here from Lok Capital. I don't see you, but I know you're here somewhere. Okay, hidden there. Uh, we were doing a film for Lok Capital, which is a venture capital firm, and in the process, they asked if we could do an annual report publication for them. We hadn't. It wasn't something that we had done, but I said, why not? I mean, we can do. We have designers in the team. We are creative. We should be able to do. So we picked it up, and it was something that made us realize that hey, we could do this. And slowly we started doing more, and it was fun when the same team came back saying, "You've done films for us. You've done this annual report. We've interacted. You understand us. You understand our ethos. You know all about us. Will you be able to design and develop a website for us?" And this is an organization that's been there for a couple of decades, right? So to be able to say yes was something, but I think to be able for an organization like that to ask a team which had not done something like this to say, we know you haven't done it, but it's okay. Why don't you give it a shot? We're there to back you up. I think that was a big validation. And this happened in 2023, if I'm not wrong. And and that was sort of a foray into design in some sense. And since then, we've been doing it sporadically. And I have a lot of people here with whom we have done this. We have done decks, we have done pitch decks, we've done websites, publication with different people. We kept doing this, but it was always on the side. We have latent talent, we have people who have time, we can do this, or we've done it, we understand. But whenever there was a film need, that always got the attention. I think we would be doing some design, but there would be a fire on film, immediately help do this fix. Of course, this is all, bearing it all open, but without disrupting whatever deliverable committed, we would do it. But internally, I think it was all the same set of people doing. There was no harm. But I think early this year we started feeling the itch to say, what if we just launch this and build it out as a separate offering, separate vertical? It just makes us focus on it a lot better. And I think in some sense, it's also taken us a lot of coming out of a cocoon and then saying, okay, we can do design. I think call it self doubt, call it the team's vulnerable. I mean, it's some sort of vulnerable place where, like, are we okay to call ourselves a design studio because there are way better people out there? But I think finally we took the bet saying, okay, we will, it's time we do it. So quietly last night, this went up on a website. So design, if you go to lastbench.studio, you will see a design tab. In some sense, it's a mark of just saying we do this actively rather than just working with clients and saying, yes, we can. And I think we're ready to say, hey, how about we do this for you? And in some sense, also on the other side, as a studio, it wasn't a diversification of our basket. It felt like a natural extension to what we were doing. We work, we understand people. Can we just build on this to this relationship? And super excited to be launching this. And we've done some work, and I keep saying we have done. So I'll call upon, and before I call upon Manvi, quick shout out to Raj, who's in London. Uh, Raj leads our design practice. Uh, Raj is a person who worked with us on folk cricket. He joined us along with Nikhil when we started the studio. He's a founding team member. Last year he decided to take a break, go study. He finished studying. We kept working on the side, doing some projects here and there. But I think a couple of months ago decided Ghar Wapsi. So in some sense, so hopefully Raj, we see Raj soon in person. But we decided the vertical needs someone to lead. So nothing more gratifying and fulfilling than someone you've started your journey with come back and say, I want to build this with you. And along with Raj, we have Paki. Again, I can't see, the light is too sharp. Paki has been the person behind a lot of our design efforts. The entire Matinee design language was defined by Paki last year, our merge. And as Paki was doing it, we felt there could be another person who could come in and start working. So Manvi, I call upon Manvi to quickly take us through this. Paki, hello.
Hi, I'm Manvi, and thank you for coming to Matinee, all of you. We are very happy to announce Design at Last Bench. And yeah, like when I joined Last Bench, there were multiple projects that ranged from website to identity design to publications to even art installations. So I really like that aspect of Last Bench, that it doesn't just restrict itself into a niche and it is wide and open to explore. I'll take you through a bunch of projects, but the common point of all these projects that I'm about to explain just as a journey is they all start with care. They all start by understanding the client. They all start by just bringing out the heart of their organization or the people inside them and who do they impact. And it's really nice to design for those people who are getting impacted by at grassroots level by the work that we are putting out. Like it's not just visual, but it's a thought that we are putting out. So starting with Avanti Fellows, we this was the first project that I personally worked upon with Raj and Paki on the side, and it's a website design. Avanti Fellows as a client, they are very nice and they're very creatively open to experimentation and to understand what stories are we bringing forward. Yes. And yeah, so we started with the exploration of what do they work around it. They work around children education, specifically STEM education that ranges on the scientific nature of it. And they provide resources and bridges the gap of children who don't get those resources readily available in their society. They bridge that gap and bring those availabilities and opportunities to them. So Avanti Fellows wanted to revamp their website because they are very diverse and they have a lot of work in them. So how to justify these stories and how to bring this heart to the audience. So we started with the nostalgia factor of having flipping through a book. What if we build that experience through a website? And there are 1,000 ways to do that. So I would like to have. So yeah, so a website is not only just design. It started with content. It started with the tagline of one generation changes everything, and that led the visuals also. It also pushed us to go do a photo shoot for them, and like the whole team came together to make this project go live. So this was one of the projects that I wanted to showcase. The second one is Edelgive annual report. As a client, they are very creative in coming up with the themes for their annual report. So this year's theme was "Be Water, My Friend." It's a very famous quote by Bruce Lee, and they wanted us to connect their organization and be represented in this way. So we did illustrations and we broke down the whole concept by representing them as a boat going through a journey that is going through rivers, through ponds, to fountains, to waterfalls, and various ways of like how an iceberg. We literally one time sketched a full evaporation cycle on the whiteboard just to understand how we are going to do it. But yeah, so overall, this was a complete journey. One thing that was special in this project was the color. So we wanted the users or the audience to go through the color, like how we go deep into the sea and how deep Edelgive is in their thought process, in their working. So the colors start from a lighter shade and go to a darker shade towards the end. So these are subtle touches that last bench via design we try to focus on. The next project is Patang. They are very nice client. So I remember on the starting call in where we wanted to understand them, the founder, we asked them a question of like, what is Patang? How would you represent it as a space? And they sang the song from the picture Udan, in which the child at the end is running freely. And from that song, we took the inspiration and did rebranding for them after being in the sector for 20 years. And we wanted to capture the essence of Patang as a youthfulness, as free spirited, as a place that does not have walls. It's like a society in the space where they work in youth development and they try to break those walls. They try to uplift these kids all together. And the interesting part is these kids who are influenced by it, they come together and then influence more kids. So it's a cycle that they follow. So they are more like friends, and that hopefulness, that warmth, we wanted to bring it out. So this was another vertical. The next project is Gates Foundation. They wanted to represent their 25 years of work through a art installation, and this had all the infographics, very interesting way of showing information and how different sectors, there are 4 sectors: health and sanitization, healthcare, I said, sorry, um, infertility rate and polio cases, women empowerment, and all these things coming together in an art installation they wanted in their event. The interesting thing about this event was a live art installation where the partners came together, filled the pieces up, and this whole thing was made. This was some of the background shots of how the process was done. It was done in 3 days. And yeah, but it was very interesting and very challenging in that way. So yeah, these were some of the projects that we wanted to highlight as design at Last Bench. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Manvi. It was done in 3 days with a big asterisk. Okay, so we don't want to just set that precedence. Got to protect my team. 2 fun facts. I know we've been doing trivia night all night, but we are Last Bench. We are very academic coded, so there's a lot of school references. So our offsite is called Recess, and at Recess, I think 2 years ago, we had this exercise where we were manifesting what we want to do in the future. And believe me when I say this, I read to the team on my note, Gates Foundation, this has decided to work with Last Bench, and to have Gates Foundation come in and to be able to do something as fantastic as a live installation, for me, it was a. So you speak it and it comes through. Which also, the second fun fact was the look on Manvi and Paki's face when I said, "What do you mean Bruce Lee can't be part of this publication? I want an Easter egg somewhere." But again, it's just a show of range of how creativity can really manifest if the vision, if the playfulness, if the explorativeness comes through. That brings me, we'll be wrapping in about 5 minutes. Don't worry, folks. But I want to essentially play something to you which we've been working in stealth for a while. In front of you is a trailer that actually was not supposed to be playing at Matinee, but the team powered through and said, no, we have something beautiful coming together. We want to be able to tease it. We are working with Professor Anand from the Indian School of Business to talk about global trade in the ancient period of the Cholas. This is going to be a 6-part docu-series that is currently in the works, maybe around March. But the fun thing about this is when you look at conflicts today, if that's US, Iran, most of the times it's the global marine trade that essentially gets affected. And of course, there's this whole implication that we have as a world. The question that we're trying to raise is, did this really exist in the ancient world? Because there's enough historical evidence of a thriving trade network in the Indian Ocean. And as we started researching more about it, I think there is a beautiful story there that we are also unraveling for ourselves. And a huge, huge credit to the animation team to be able to pull this off, for us to be able to present to you Oceans of Innovation.
A businessman waits at the Chennai airport for a flight to Jakarta. A meeting, a deal to close, and a return flight. In a blink, the scene shifts back in time.
The most important thing about the Cholas is that they create the first and the last trans-sea empire in India's history. The sea here is not a barrier, the sea is the conduit.
Funan, Champa as well as Srivijaya essentially were gateways into China.
We have coins, we have this huge corpus of poetry primarily, but also some amount of prose which is called the Sangam literature.
The Srivijaya was a maritime empire, what is known as Thalocracy, and they were blocking the Malacca Straits.
There is an instrument called the Ra Palagai. You tie knots in that thread that tangles to give you the distance between your first sight and your second sight. And there's a story in a document about the king of Ethiopia giving a giraffe as a gift to the Chinese emperor. It was walked across India and it reached Konark. So in the Konark temple, you've got a sculpture of an elephant and a giraffe side by side.
But what is actually fascinating is this idea of how trade at that scale can actually be enabled by informal institutions, which essentially is about soft power, culture, social norms. It is atypical, and for me that is the wow factor about this documentary.
Thank you. That is a work in progress project that we are very excited, and we felt like we would do justice by teasing it. And wish us luck, because we have a team that will be going to Vietnam, Indonesia to shoot a couple of the archaeological sites. We're going to shoot temples. We're going to shoot mosques. We're going to shoot Buddhist monasteries. The role of all these religious institutions. I wish I was going, but it'll be. Yeah, the team is just constantly saying nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. But yes, we'll definitely reach out. I think it is me now like realizing the depth of conversations that I've had with a range of people in the line of work that they do, and to have had historians sit down. Quick shout out to Kesava, who's also in the audience, who is my second brain in this project, and everybody associated with this project. Good luck to us, because we'll have to wrap this up by March. But 6 episodes, live action, animation. You saw some of the samples. Slack has been so invigorating in that sense, because the animation team just throws us samples and we're like, oh my god, I like that, I like this, I like this, I like that. We'll calm down, we'll figure out a way, and we will bring this to you sometime in March. And that brings me to the end of Matinee. Matinee 25, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Can I bring the thank you slide, if that's okay? It brings me immense pleasure to show you Last Bench for the faces that you may not necessarily see. I know Sriram and I are a lot of the times in front of Last Bench, but quick thanks to all the Last Benchers, the folks who've joined us on our journey, who may not be here but have been sending wishes for Matinee. I don't think this event would have been possible without everybody here pulling the strings. I know you all work with us, so I will just say that we have ongoing client projects, but for the fact that the team chose to actually put together this beautiful setup, Matinee is incredibly important to me, and in an extension to everybody at Last Bench. And for us, it is to create a space for creatives to see that a place like this exists, and the fact that, of course, we can share the journey with you to show what we're doing. As we wrap up Matinee, this is the curtain closer. I lost my grandmother a year ago, and when we were talking to Sukanya, who joined us as a creative director, she shared a poem with me that sat with me, and I went to Mehak and said, can I make an original out of this? And we had Ishan, who was with us, who was interning, and he had beautiful watercolor style. And I said, you know what? Heaven sent. I present to you names.
She was Eliza for a few weeks when she was a baby. Eliza Lily. Soon it changed to Lil. Later, she was Miss Stewart at the baker's shop. And then, my love, My darling mother. Widowed at 30, she went back to work as Mrs. Hand. Her daughter grew up, married, and gave birth. Now she was Nana. Everybody calls me Nana, she would say to visitors. And so they did. Friends, tradesmen, the doctor. In the geriatric ward, they used the patients' Christian names. Lil, we said, or Nana, but it wasn't in a file. And for those last bewildered weeks, she was Eliza once again.
Is this my favorite Peter Cat recording song? Because this is the end. Thank you everybody for making time for us. I know Bangalore is extremely cold today, but all of you soldiered on to show up. It is incredible for us to see each one of you. I was telling some of you that you all know us since we were this. And abhi millimeter say centimeter, right? That's what the word is. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us for this evening. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please hang back. Please talk to us. Get them answered. Also, give us an opportunity to quickly say hi to everybody because I know a few of you filed in a little later. But well, thank you. Oh wow. Okay, very bright. Thank you. Yes. Now I see all the faces. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you so much. Thank you. Yes, sir.